Good morning, it's Ian from Let's Delight with your weekly dose of hints, inspiration and tips. And today I want to just go back to a little video that I did 3, maybe 4 weeks ago because it seems to have resonated with some people. I did a video, and if you recall, we were actually outside a property that we'd been viewing, and it was all about consistency, because I believe that consistency is the biggest single thing in your business and in your life that makes the difference. And I've had quite a few questions and comments regarding this, which is great. I always love to hear some feedback, so if you've got any questions or feedback on these little videos or anything else that we do in our business, then please feel free to get in touch, either through the comments, which you'll probably find below, or drop me a message or something. But one of the biggest questions that I've had is nothing to do with property, nothing really to do with business. I mentioned about consistency of learning a language, and I said there are 3 apps that I use every day, and I've been asked what they are. So the answer to that is 1 is Duolingo, 2 is Memrise, which I use mostly to build vocabulary, and the 3rd one that I've been using up until now is Busuu. I think that's how you pronounce it, Busuu. There is a free version, but it's the paid for version that I've been using for. It's not expensive, but you pay for it for a whole year. And the thing I like about that is it has actual language dialogues. So you've got 2 people speaking, and you've got the text, and you can follow it, and you can go back over it, etc., to make sure you've got the understanding of it. I've come to the end of the course on that one, so I'm actually looking for another language app. So if you've got a recommendation, that would be great. The one I'm looking at though is Rosetta Stone, and I'll tell you why that is. Because I find that Duolingo and Memrise are very good at teaching me to translate. So they're good at teaching me the vocabulary and the grammar, but they're not so good at teaching me to think in my target language, which is Turkish. And that's what I really need. That's the next stage. So Rosetta Stone, from what I've seen, and I've only just played around with it, seems to be one that everything is taught in the target language. So you learn to think in the target language. So I'm sure you can see the advantages of that. Anyway, I'll keep you posted on that one. That's not really the point of this video. That was a little bit incidental. The other thing that came up from the previous video on consistency is, how do I find time every day to do these important things? Well, there's 2 parts to that. Firstly, it is deciding what is important, because there's only so much time in our day, there's only so much time in our life, we've only got so much energy within each of us, so there's only a limited amount that we can do. And what I'm really big on goal setting, and so I have some very clear life goals, and I then work from those as to what are the most important things that I need to do on a daily basis. And one of those is reading, to develop my skills and my knowledge and to be inspired by great people and great books. And another one of those is Turkish, and there are a few other bits and pieces that I have to do every day. And it's really important to me what I call my bookends. So these are a time in the morning and a time in the evening every day that I control. So when I'm not the greatest person in the morning. I'm not one of these people who leaps out of bed full of energy, ready to go for the day. I have to ease myself gently into the day, and there's usually quite a lot of coffee involved. And so right in the morning, I set myself things that are pretty mindless. So one of the first things I do in the morning is I empty the dishwasher. A very important job, but doesn't really take a lot of brain power, but it just as it gets me into the morning, gets my body and my mind used to the fact that I'm awake. And once I've got some of those and I'm actually coming into the day, I then sit down right at the beginning of the morning, and there's a couple of things I do. So I go through my customer relationship management, and if I've got your address and we know each other reasonably well, the chances are that if I know your birthday, you'll get a birthday card from me. So all those sort of things, because that's really quite important to build those relationships and to keep those relationships. That's something I've identified as being important to me. So I do that every morning. I do a little slot of Turkish, and it doesn't take a great deal of time. I probably spend no more than 10 minutes in total across those 3 apps. If I'm struggling with the exercises, maybe a little bit longer, but normally about 10 minutes. And then I do about half an hour of reading every morning. And it's really important to know how your mental energy flows through the day. So I am best between about 10 o'clock in the morning and about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. That's my best time. So that is absolutely quite sacrosanct to me. That is guarded. During that time, I never check emails unless I'm actually looking for something to do which is directly connected with the bit of work that I'm doing. I always plan the day before what work I'm going to be doing then, so I'm prepared for it. I'm not sitting there thinking, what am I going to do now? And then what I do is during that time, that's most productive. And the chances of you getting hold of me during that time are quite low. So I plan out that time. And then in the afternoon, I do the sort of more, or the less thinking type stuff, the more sort of routine stuff. And if there's something I want to do for myself, that's when I do it in the afternoon. And then come the evening, after I've eaten my evening meal, the first thing I do is I then sit down and I go through my to-do list. So I cross off the things that I've done, I trim it down so it's no longer than 12 items, and I do that so that things don't just sit on there forever. I'll do another video about the way I approach to-do list another time. But then I plan 3 things that I want to get done the following day. At the moment, I'm actually doing 5. So 3 that I want to do in that quality time in the morning, and 2 things that are less important, are just as important, but are less brain consuming. So I can just work through those in the afternoon, just to make sure they get done, but they don't involve my highest productivity time. And then following that, I will just write up in my journal what's happened in the day, how I'm feeling, etc. And the last thing that goes in there is always 3 things that I am grateful for that day. 3 things that I'm grateful for. So I end my day with gratitude, and that's really important. And then I do a bit more reading before I actually go to bed. And then there's a few sort of routine stuff, like the dishwasher has to be put on so I can unload it the next morning. Seeing a pattern here. Anyway, so that is how I find the time. Those bookends at the beginning and the end of the day I can control. I can control to a large extent what goes on in the morning, and then the afternoon is the free time that I can't control to deal with other people's requests and needs on my time. I hope that's useful. Check back next week and we'll have another dose of hits, inspiration and tips. Have a great week.